On this week's episode of I-501C, the podcast for nonprofit board members, I'm interviewing a board member, Gerhard Toth. Well, Gerhard works for GTE Financial. He's business banking manager, but he has served on a number of boards over the last 20 years. Currently, United Way Suncoast and Braden River Soccer Club. He also serves as a mentor to young people, as you're going to hear in this interview. So please welcome Gerhard Toth. Hey, I want to jump in real quick. Somebody asked me the other day, what does the Corley Company do? Well, we do three things for nonprofits. One, we facilitate meetings, yes, like board retreats where we discuss governance and strategy with all the members of the board. Number two, advise CEOs and help them as they make decisions and implement actions to drive their mission. And then finally, we produce podcasts such as this one, but also for a number of nonprofits to help you get the word out, get your message out. So if you're interested in any of these services, please feel free to reach out to Michael at thecorleycompany.com. Now back to the podcast. On this week's episode of I-501C, the podcast for nonprofit board members, I have the pleasure of interviewing Gerhard Toth, who I saw recently. I saw Gerhard at the United Way Suncoast board retreat a few months ago, and he and I have crossed paths intermittently over the years. It was one of those we knew each other by face. We're like, who is that guy? And then recently I've seen him in the nonprofit space as he's has been and continues to be very, very engaged. Gerhard, if you would you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, your career, and your current nonprofit board service.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Nice to be here. And yes, it's been one of these things where we've seen each other, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So I'm currently the business banking manager for GTE Financial. Been there for 3 years. Prior to that, I've worked for larger national banks, had the opportunity to go into a credit union based in Tampa Bay, a not-for-profit credit union. So prior to that, I was in the telecom space. But overall, what I would say, my participation in nonprofit boards has been ongoing for the last 18 or 20 years. Early on during my career, I was exposed. I was a part of some initiatives, and that really led to my service within the space.
Very good. So you currently serve in a couple places. You serve on the United Way Suncoast board and also the Braden River Soccer Club board. And you mentor for Unidos Now and USF. So really, really busy. In addition to your day job, why do you choose to do this? You're so busy. There's 100 other things you could do. Why do you choose to serve?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, Michael. I think, quite honestly, it started with what my parents instilled in me. Give back, be good, etc. And as I became active in the professional space, I saw the need, I saw the opportunity, and I believe that if you give back, if you do the right thing, it'll come back to you one way or another. Throughout my career, there's always been somebody that mentored me, helped me, provided me with advice, and that was very valuable, right? I'm here today because some people were unselfish. They took the time to spend some time with me, provide with some guidance, and that really stuck with me. So as soon as I had the opportunity to start doing some things in the nonprofit space, then I said, look, it's the right thing to do. I'm passionate about it. And one of my passions is most certainly early childhood education, financial literacy. That ties very well with the United Way. So I've been active there for a long, long time. And my other passion has always been soccer. I have two boys that play competitive soccer at the Braden River Soccer Club. So I saw a way of giving back as well. It's a very good organization. And yeah, here I am. You always find the time when you have a passion for these things.
Oh, I love that. So you talked about two different organizations, both nonprofits, board service, but boy, they're really different roles. I can only imagine. So when you look at the United Way Suncoast, can you compare and contrast your roles as a board member on those two organizations?
Yeah, great question. So when you take a look at the United Way Suncoast board, there's a lot of history, there's a lot of legacy. 100 years actually in Tampa Bay. So there's a lot of structure. There's a lot of methodology. There's a clear vision. There's a clear path. You got a lot of very good citizens around Tampa Bay, business owners. They're all rowing in the same direction, right? So there's cadence and there's structure. When you go into smaller organizations, smaller nonprofits, you find yourself doing a lot more. You find yourself doing things that you would traditionally wouldn't do because, that's being taken care of by somebody else. But at the end of the day, you're all looking for the same outcome. What is best for the community? What is best for the stakeholders? And at times in a smaller non-for-profit, egos, personalities, history may be more visible than in a larger, more tenured organization. Again, because you have more structure. But again, that the right leadership will lead to the right results at either organization, obviously.
Oh, very, very good. Very politically correct response to that. I can only imagine some of the challenges as you got a more, I guess, sophisticated, long tenured organization, and more of a scrappy. I've been on boards of athletic associations for high school. It's just challenging. It's different for any number of reasons. But so, how do you view your role in those nonprofit boards?
So it's a little bit like in my day job, right? Like in the finance space, in the business world, you got to learn about the mission, the objectives, the board member, the membership, the community. So there's a lot of initial fact finding. And then you got to go in and start adapting to the different personalities, the different, committees, the different goals, etc. So to me, it's really important to be able to add value in whatever I do, right? Use me as a sounding board, use me in the financial committee, use me as a mentor, use me as a peacemaker, use me as the innovator. It just depends on the particular point in time, right, at that organization. Sometimes it's fairly straightforward, and sometimes it's not. And sometimes you may be able to address an issue fairly quickly, and in some cases you may be 2 years deep, 3 years deep into a major macro change, and you're still trying to find the best way to deliver it. So it involves a lot of patience and perseverance, but a lot of listening.
Wise advice. You just talked about some of the qualities of a good nonprofit board member: patience, listening. What else? So you've seen a lot of board members and interacted with them. What are some of the qualities that you look at and go, "Wow, that makes a really good board member"?
Yeah. So in my mind, the best board members are the ones that are actively and continuously engaged, right? They're there. They want to be there. They want to make a difference. They roll up their sleeves. They're just not showing up, checking a box. They come in a little bit late. They leave early. They never participate. It's not like it's okay, but it shouldn't be like that. And in my mind, also, I would say the board members that contribute the most are typically the ones that have either a personal story or a connection or a passion that ties into that organization. Whatever your passion may be, like I said, mine is, early childhood education or particular sports or animals or the environment, whatever it is, there's always a connection point, A to B, and that makes you a very good board member.
Oh, that's well stated. We always say, because I get asked a lot, people said, "Oh, I want to be on a nonprofit board. Where should I look?" I say, always start with your passion. What's something you're very interested in? Because it's not all fun and sexy to be on a board. There's a lot of hard work. and you want to make sure there's something driving you towards that end, and make sure that you're engaged. So let me ask you, when you have sat on these boards for a number of years, you've been involved, how do you think it has helped you as a leader become a better leader?
I think it has provided me with the opportunity to be a better listener, also more adaptable, and it's really allowed me to fine tune on my presentation and negotiation skills. Typically in my line of work, you pretty much know who you're going to see, what you're going to do. You can expect some certain outcomes, right? But when you talk about a nonprofit, whether it's a 3 or a 6, right? You have board members that are very committed, that are very passionate, but may be from very diverse backgrounds and may have different opinions on how to do something or what the direction should be. And at one point, I may be saying to myself, they're all right. We have 10 different good opinions, 3 different business plans. They're all good. So how do I do that? How do I add value? And it goes back to what I was saying, getting to know people a little bit better, listening to their points. Don't be so quick in, dismissing this or accepting an idea. Challenge, ask questions, get to know them away from the board meetings. Have some sort of activity, talk to them impromptu, engage them impromptu, and that'll give you a better sense to who these individuals are. And I think I've been using more and more of that into my day-to-day in my business world.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you touched on something there I want to dive into a little bit, among other things. You said a 3 versus 6. So you meant a 501c3 versus a 501c6, because you were on the board of the Greater Sarasota Chamber of Commerce, and that's a C6. And of course, we already talked about United Way. That's a C3. So did you approach your board service differently based on a C3 and C6 distinction, or did you notice were there any noticeable differences between the two?
Locally and regionally, I feel blessed. The organizations that we have around here are always doing the right thing for the community or the membership, whether it's, one of the chambers or the United Way Suncoast, et cetera. So I find a lot of similarities, again, in the purpose, in giving back, in doing the right thing, the empowerment, right, that's out there. At the end of the day, a C6, you'll have a little bit more sophistication or complexity when it comes to the financials, legal, compliance, fiscal, all of that. So you may have a little bit more resources on that end. But I would say this, I would consider, if I were looking for a new opportunity, a C3 or a C6, both great types of organizations, especially the ones in our own backyard.
Appreciate you saying that. So when people come to you, or maybe some folks that you work with, younger folks, and they're considering joining a nonprofit board, what do you tell them?
Like you said, and like I had expressed before, what are you passionate about? But even before I go into that question, I'll ask the question, why? Why are you coming now early in your career? It could be a mid-level career. Why all of a sudden is there an interest? So if they do tell me, well, I'm trying to build up my resume, I'm trying to put in some hours, then the conversation is going to go a little bit differently than somebody that says, well, I have a personal connection. This is a story. And I say, absolutely. If you are passionate about this, let's make sure that it is truly a passion of yours. Let's make sure that, your manager, your company is going to support you. You're going to have the time to go in. It's not going to be touch and go, but you are really committed because, as you know, a lot of our nonprofits, sometimes, our volunteers or our paid associates are doing many, many jobs. They're wearing different hats. Sometimes they rely on a volunteer, a committee member, a board member to take some of that load or run with that responsibility or get the right advice. So I always tell somebody when they're asking me that, make sure that you're fully committed. If you start it, you're going to go 100% and you're not going to bail out, halfway through your term. That commitment to me is irreplaceable, especially for the small and not-for-profits.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's a challenge for some folks and for some organizations when a board member gets on and then they're not available to prepare for the meetings. They don't show up for the meetings or they have to leave early. It is really disruptive. I don't think anybody goes in with that intent, but that is the reality. So I think it's wise for you, as you counsel them beforehand, to really think through that. And are they able to commit that time and attention, depending on where they are in their careers?
You're just, being very open, right? You're hoping that the commitment is there. There's a lot of clarity around it. And at the end of the day, after that conversation, they may say, you know what, you brought up very good points. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. And that's absolutely fine. I'd rather that happen now than 3 months into a 12-month term commitment.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And something we can always tell the younger people, there's always going to be an opportunity. Right now may not be the right time, but believe me, you've got another X number of years to serve and something will line up for you. So before we got on the call, you mentioned something about something big y'all just did at Braden River Soccer Club. So I want to give you an opportunity to share with everybody. What did y'all just do? What kind of growth and expansion are you in the midst of?
So Braden River Soccer Club has been around for a long, long time. And we got to that point in which we needed to either go in the direction of we need to grow, we need to do things better, or we stay where we are, a good club, but we know our limitations. So through a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of strategic meetings and relying on each board member's area of expertise, we said, you know what, we're going to go big, and we understand and we realize that we cannot expand and offer better programs, better engagement, more opportunities to the local soccer community unless we execute on a partnership. So we executed a partnership with the largest soccer club in the state of Florida, called Florida Premier. So Florida Premier is now running our soccer program. We just started a couple of weeks ago. So Braden River Soccer Club, still in existence. We still have our board, but we have hired Florida Premier to come in and run operations for us. So they bring in the methodology, the resources, the staff, etc., and we've expanded the club tremendously. We've pretty much doubled the size of the club, and this is going to allow us to better serve the soccer community from the very young entry-level soccer player, that little girl that may be 4 or 5 years old, all the way to an 18, 19-year-old competitive player that's looking for pathway into college soccer, semi-professional soccer, or professional soccer. So one of the key areas that we discussed is during the planning stages, we don't want to lose our core values. We don't want to lose our identity. We don't want to lose our history. So we were very selective as to how we approach the partner. And I'm glad to inform that, things are going very well.
Well, I think that is absolutely impressive, because a thought in the nonprofit world of a merger and alliance and engagement like that, whatever term you want to use, and I know sometimes those are just legal structures, but it never happens because egos get in the way and they lose sight of what's the best, right, for the mission. In your case, it sounds like y'all stay totally focused on the mission. It's that little girl, that little boy who might have a future in soccer or just wants to play. And now you're able to double the number of clients you serve.
That's right. We can serve more soccer players and their families, provide better options. We stay true to our scholarship program. We provide scholarships to those that are in need. We give back a number of ways, and we're very excited about the future.
Well, pat yourselves on the back and tell your fellow board members I commend them for that, because that is not something that happens on a regular basis. And maybe it should more frequently, but egos get in the way. We all know that. And history gets in the way sometimes, as opposed to looking to the future. So I commend y'all for serving more people. So Gerhard, as we're wrapping things up here, and this has been a great conversation, what other words of advice or what other insights into the nonprofit space serving on a board would you like to share with the audience?
I think in summary, Michael, it's about doing the right thing. We as board members have a unique opportunity to do the right thing in many, many different ways. If we all collaborate, we invest the time, and we have a clear vision of how to get there, the community will benefit, the membership will benefit. I would say, lastly, tying it back to what we discussed earlier, a great starting point is find an organization that you have a personal connection with, or a cause that you have a passion for. And if you don't, that's okay. But if you decide to do this, be committed. And there's no problem in having conversations with different organizations. Most of them would be delighted to have a conversation, about what they do, what they need, what they want to see in a board member, and then take it from there. And I would say, again, we are very blessed regionally across Tampa Bay. We have wonderful organizations, and I am sure that if there's something out there that you want to do, you can find it in one of these nonprofits.
Gerhard, well stated. Long-time board serving member, Gerhard Toth, business banking manager for GTE Financial, current board member for United Way Suncoast and Braden River Soccer Club. So Gerhard, I have enjoyed thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael. A pleasure. I'll see you around.
What an interesting interview with Gerhard. Sorry the video is not available, folks. We're having some challenges, but we worked our way through all of that. And now we're going to have recapping with Reed. So Reed, Gerhard had actually quite a few things to say. Give us three.
Absolutely. So the first thing is to know what stage of the organization is and design the board around that. The right leadership. It's important for the right leadership to be in the board at the right time, right? If you need a working board, you need working board members. If you're more of an advisory board because your organization's maturing, then you might get some more advising board members who don't have to put as much time into the organization.
Very fair. Number two.
Good board members are active. They're continuously engaged. They want to make a difference. They roll up their sleeves. There is a connection point between their passion and the mission.
Oh, well stated. And number three.
How being on a nonprofit board has helped Gerhard in his professional career is it's taught him how to be a better listener first, and it's helped him fine-tune his presentation and negotiation skills, because there's a lot more ambiguity in the world of nonprofit board relationships and activity.
Indeed. And he did sum that up well, as you did, Reed. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, recapping with Reed. And we will I-501 see you next week.